Yes. Okay, great. So we set at the beginning of the day, and then you will start to say what happened, right? You'll have to fill in as many details as you can about this. All right, guys? So let's write one more paragraph, but I will leave the rest for you to write on your own, okay? So the rest of this will be homework for you to write. Okay. At the beginning of the day, we arrived at the big gates. I'm making stuff off of our mind on the top of my mind right now, okay? So think with me. If you have any good ideas, just collaborate, all right? We arrived at the museum's big gates, and then describe something. Just say the smell. So I use a semicolon here. So by the way, in all of your writing, you will have to use various types of sentences. Don't you just use one type of sentence like a compound or simple sentence? No, you will have to use many types of sentences like compound, complex, and sometimes compound complex as well. Okay, if you don't know anything about these, just text Mr. Hand. I'll send you guys with her a pamphlet or a sheet about the types of the sentences. Okay, but you'll make sure to use more than one type of sentence. Okay, you can say the smell. Okay, actually, museums smell bad because it's dusty, right? It's a bunch of old stuff. But let's try to make it something cheerful and positive, right? So you can say the smell of um, the ancient treasures captivated us. Like it inspired us.
What means captivate?
Captivated, it means we really liked it. We were hooked. We liked the place because of it. It's like another way of saying it's amazing.
Okay.
All right.
Mister, I forgot to leave a line before I write.
It's okay. Maybe do that on the next lines, okay? No problem. Okay, yes, sir, you just joined now. So we were continuing the recount we wrote before, and you can use sentences from the highlighted part that will be sent to you to use in any recount that you will be asked to write, including this one, which will be homework for you to write. Okay? So after this session, I actually will stop at this part for now. You guys will have to continue to write the recount on your own because I want to see your own writing. And of course, we will develop from there. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just write as much as you can. I want you to write like the whole 2 pages. Okay? Use the highlighted parts that I will send you, which are these. Okay? The stuff, the screenshot I will send you. Use it to write this recount about the museum and make as many mistakes as you want. No problem with that at all because we only learn from our mistakes, right? All right, now it's time to move on to another very exciting fiction story. Today we will do fantasy, okay? Fantasy writing. But for this one, we will need to write it in any empty page. Like if you have a notebook or, um, yeah, Dima's back.
Mister,
Yeah, yes, honey.
um, in in the homework, could we write like a page and a half?
You should exceed a page and a half. Okay, so yeah, it's a good question actually. So like in checkpoint test, guys, you receive for writing, you have 2 pages, like this and that, right? So you have to write The full first page you have to finish it, and the second page it's not accepted that you write below this portion. Like you should write all of this, at least all of this, like more than half. Okay, maybe more than half by a line or two, it's okay.
Like
But if you just write, for example, up until here, it will be very bad. No, you can't leave all of this empty. Actually, we are encouraged to, because
like
there is a word count, guys. We should write a lot. Like it will depend. Like for you guys next year and the year after, when you go to high school, when you do year 9 stuff, and if whether you do first or second language, it depends in IG in like year 10. But it will depend, but there is some certain criteria. You should write in a certain word count. You should write an amount of words and no less, nowhere less than this. There is a minimum and a maximum. Okay? All right, let's continue now, and we will do a fantasy writing. Let's read first a sample for fantasy and read the features. Let me show you here the features of the fantasy writing first.
could we
Okay,
write like
I will
7
need you guys to
paragraphs?
open page number
Mister, I
72.
will just go AFK for 5 seconds. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, fantasy writing is in page 72. I will share the screen again now. There we go.
172.
No, just 72. No hundreds.
Back.
Okay. Okay, Adam, we are now doing fantasy fiction, okay? We're going to write a fiction story in the fantasy genre. It's gonna be much more exciting than non-fiction, by the way. The first one might be about boring stuff, museums, stuff that you went to. Okay, but fantasy writing is all about using your imagination, which I think a lot of you guys have a pretty good imagination. So let's see. Fantasy fiction. These are the features, okay? First of all, it should include some magical forces. What does that mean? It means it will include either magic or things that are not real, like basically unreal stuff.
Like talking animals.
Yes, but talking animals is more like in fables, but yes, definitely. Maybe like talking animals.
Aliens.
Aliens? Who said aliens?
Me.
Oh, no aliens, because aliens is an indicator of science fiction. That's another genre. Yes, okay, it's actually good that you've mentioned this. Many guys lose marks in fiction
Oops.
because they mix the features of the genres. If you are asked to write a fantasy fiction, then do not include any of the features of the other stories. Okay? Like, don't include space, don't include robots and aliens, because these are for science fiction, right? So do not include them in the fantasy fiction.
What
So
what
what you
about
should include
princesses
is
and
magic,
stuff like that?
magic or magical forces, unreal settings, like a place that couldn't be real, like it can't, you can't live there. Like maybe like the story that we will read, it will be a story of a mermaid, like a talking fish, living underwater. Of course, this is very unreal, right? It's not real at all.
And
Okay, fantastical characters. The characters should be mythical characters or fantastical characters, like unreal characters. Even the characters, like mermaids, unicorns, maybe rabbits that talk, like in Alice in Wonderland, for example. All right. So setting is imaginary. Even the setting, the place, is not real. So the characters are not real, and the setting, the place, is not real. There should be a dangerous quest. This is pretty crucial. It's very important that the main character or the hero of the story is on a quest. A quest is basically like you are on a journey to achieve something, to do something, to find something,
A
to
challenge.
help, yes, to help some other characters, to save somebody from danger, etc., etc. These are all examples of quests, okay? And the last one is mythical creatures. Mythical creatures are unreal creatures that are like as mermaids. The mermaids are the talking fish, which is, of course, not real, right? Okay. Now we'll read the example. Let me share with you the sample of this story. Fantasy sample. There we go. Share the screen. Oopsie. Okay, actually, this one is exciting. I like fiction more than non-fiction because you can use your mind, you can imagine stuff. It's pretty much basic to me. So these are mermaids. Like this person is a mermaid. She's half woman, half fish, right? See? Is this a real creature? Do you think this is real? Of course not.
No. No.
No.
Yes, it's
No.
not real. Thank God,
No.
this will be terrifying, right? Okay, so Into the Cave. This story is called Into the Cave. At the bottom of the ocean, guys, as we read, I will want you to notice the story structure and the story elements. The story structure and elements are like this. Okay, actually, let me explain them to you in a note to be able to send it to you after class. Share this tab instead over here. It basically looks like this. Any fiction story should start with the exposition first, which is the first action or the beginning of the story, which is pretty normal. Like in any movie, guys, things are all normal, and then maybe some action happens later, like some stuff that will be more serious and problems that will appear later. And then after that, there is going to be a solution to the problem. And then at the very end, there is going to be an ending, maybe a funny ending or a happy ending or a bad ending or a sad one at the end of the movie, right? Same with fiction stories. So this is called the story structure. First, we begin with the exposition, and then there is a rising action, okay? After that, there is going to be a falling action, and then the resolution. Some people call this the story pyramid, okay? It can be called the story pyramid
That's
or the story structure. The story structure.
Could
Oh,
we
right.
write it in the
Yeah,
page?
please. Actually, please, yeah. But I will send it to you anyway. So maybe don't waste your time writing, but just keep focused to understand. I will send this as a PDF to you. You can write it whenever you want, okay? Let me just
Okay.
draw it again. Okay, it looks like this. Let's focus here. The first action is called, or the first part of the story is called exposition. Okay, an exposition is basically like the introduction, okay? So this is the introduction. Okay, in the introduction, you have to mention two or actually three things, three main things. First thing, which is gonna be the characters. You have to mention the characters. Not just the names. You will mention their names. Of course, you will have to name the characters, but also, guys, you have to mention the character traits. Okay, what are character traits? Character traits mean this word, okay, guys? Focus on this. The character traits are like the characteristics. Is this character evil? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he active? Is he an adventurer? What does he like? Etc. etc. Like, tell us his story. Tell us more about him. Make us feel like this character is a real person. Okay? So this is done by using showing but not telling. You should show, not tell, which we will explain later. Type. In the introduction also, after the characters, you have to mention the setting. Okay, the setting is the place, right? So you have to mention the time, or the place, or both. You can mention this or that, or both of them. It's totally up to you. The third thing that you have to mention is the atmosphere. Okay, atmosphere is basically how do the characters feel at the beginning of the story. For example, a story can begin with excitement. Everybody's excited about winning something. Or the beginning of a story could be like about sadness because of a loss, like the death of an important person. Okay, so this is how they felt about stuff at the beginning of the story, the feelings. Okay, this is all happening at the beginning of the story. So these are all some ideas that you can, or not just can, you must use in your exposition, which is gonna be the first paragraph of your story. Maybe first or two, maybe the first two paragraphs will still be the exposition. It's totally up to you. Also, after that, we have the rising action. Rising action. So what was the first one, guys? Remember? It was the exposition, right? You have to memorize these, okay? Have them in mind. So the first one is an exposition. Second is
Sir, I
rising
can't.
action. A question? Do you have a question, Nadine?
Mister,
Yes.
no, I can't see the screen.
You can't what?
See the screen.
She said she cannot see the screen.
I can hear her, but everybody else can, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yes, Nadine, I think
Yeah.
you just press on things, so you need help with that. You maybe join from another device or something because everybody else can see
Yeah.
the screen. Maybe you pressed on
Yeah,
something
mister.
by mistake and it made it go
No.
away. All right. Nonetheless, I'll try to stop sharing the screen and share it again so that maybe it will fix your problem. Okay. Let me try again. I hope this fixes your problem. But nonetheless,
Yeah, she
I'll
pressed
send
on
you this
something.
PDF by the end
It's
of the session.
better
anyway.
right now.
All right, cool. So the rising action, guys, is the action that will cause a problem later. So again, the rising action, it will cause the problem. Will cause a problem. This is what's meant by the rising action, okay? It will cause a problem later in the story. And the third one is the climax. The climax is the big problem that happens because
Mister,
of
you're
the rising
lagging.
action. Yeah?
You're lagging.
Again?
No, mister, it's mister.
Guys, you're a large group of people, so if you think I'm lagging, maybe it's just because your internet connection might be bad too. It might be from my end or your end, okay? All right, so again, the word climax means the big problem that happens because of the rising action. It's the big problem. Big problem. Okay, and number 4 now, which is gonna be after a big problem, what do you guys think will happen later? Can the, like, if it's a very risky
Solution.
situation for the main character?
A solution? Start
Exactly.
solving?
Exactly.
As-
We need the solution, right, to the big problem. But we call this here the falling action. I'll try to write it like this. Falling action. So the falling action is basically the solution, okay? To the problem. This is the solution to the problem. The last one is called the resolution. It's not solving it again. It's not a resolution. No, the resolution is the end of the story. Okay, like what happens at the end? Is it a happy ending? Is it a bad end to the story? Is it funny? Is it an open end? Like they don't let us know what happens at the end? Maybe. Okay, so you'll have to mention all of these 5 features or these 5 story structure elements. So if one of them is missing, by the way, in your story, it's gonna be a big problem. You lose a lot of marks. For example, if the climax is not clear, if you have like a lot of problems, no, just make or create one big problem. Again, guys, just please try to understand this. While writing a fiction story, okay, some guys think by having it like or making a lot of trouble, like one character causes a lot of trouble, it will make more like suspense, and it will be a very cool story because it has an ups and downs, right? But actually, this is not how we want you to write it, okay? There has to be one big problem, just one. So everything is normal until something bad happens that will cause a very big problem to happen, and then they must solve it. The characters, or at least the main character, has to solve it first. Yes, Esther, do you have a question?
Yes, and does the rising action in a paragraph and the climax in another paragraph?
Basically, yes. We will try to separate them in paragraphs. But actually, each element of these can use one or more or 2 paragraphs or even more, okay? Yes, Adam, a question?
The resolution is the conclusion, right?
The resolution is the conclusion. Yes, what happens at the very end? Yes, Adam, a question?
The setting, it has to be the place, not the time.
The setting is the place and the time. You can write either. Like you write this or that. Okay. Some writers prefer to write only about the place, especially in fiction. You don't have to tell about the timing, right? But what if we are writing science fiction? Okay, if you write science fiction, you have to tell us both. You have to tell us which year is it happening. Science fiction usually happens in the future, right? So tell us which year is it happening at. Okay, now we'll start to read the sample. Let's get back again to the story about the mermaid.
Mr.
Yes, honey.
Mr.
Yeah, I can hear you.
In the rising, like, will cause a problem. What does that mean?
Can you say again?
In the rising action will cause a problem. What does it mean?
Okay, it's like a small problem that will make a bigger problem later. I will actually ask you about all of these while reading this story. So while reading the story, I will tell you, okay, what is this an example of? Is this exposition or a climax or what? So you'll have to label the story that we're reading. Lily, we are reading now a sample of a fiction story. I just explained the story structure. Were you here with us when I explained this?
Yes.
Where Lily? Lily, could you hear me?
Yeah, Mister.
Yeah, you were here? Okay. Type. So we should read now the sample. Okay, into the cave. So as you remember, the first part of the story should be the exposition, right? The introduction. That we will meet the characters, we will know their names, we will know the character traits, like what do they like to do in general, and also we will know about the setting, which is the time or the place. Okay, at the bottom of the ocean, so this is the setting, right? Right there, starting with the setting. Lived a teenage mermaid. This is the character. First character. Named Sandy. This is the name. She loved adventures. This is the character trait. Okay, the character trait is like, what do they like to do? Remember? This is Sandy's character trait. Okay? Like she likes to do adventures. But her mother always got in the way. So that's like another trait about her mom. That's another character. Her mother, right? Okay? When she got in the way, that's another trait of her mom. Like she's not adventurous.
When we will read.
So you should try to include as many dialogues between the characters in fiction story as you can, okay? Like here it begins with, don't you dare, like never do this. Her mother said when her friends invited her to explore a weird cave. That place is too dangerous. So her mom is telling her two things. Don't you dare. That place is too dangerous. And we know what's gonna happen, right? Her friends invited her to explore a weird cave. This is what will happen later in the story. So all of that is just the exposition, right? Okay, guys. Later after that, okay, just a sec. So her friends went off to explore. Okay, so her friends went to explore that cave without Sandy. Sandy sat around the house. She listened to music and ate her lunch, seaweed and clams. She was bored. Okay, she felt bored, so she went off to do some flips in the backyard. She was doing some flips like playing mermaid stuff. Cool, okay. Anyway. Suddenly, so probably something bad will happen here. Suddenly there was a rumbling sound, and all the water started to swirl. All the water was moving. What's that sound? Her mother asked. Then she saw a huge beast passing overhead. A huge ghost or like beast, like a monster, a sea monster, moving above her head. It was a purple sea monster. Okay. Quick, hide in the basement with me. That's again direct speech, right? Using speech marks here for the direct speech. Her mom shouted. Sandy looked out the window and watched the monster go by. So we are introducing here the monster, which is gonna be the bad guy, right? There should be like an antagonist or like an evil character. This is like gonna be it. Yes. Okay, that's like another character. It could be a human or an animal or something that talks. So her mother shouted. Sandy looked out the window and watched the monster go by. It was headed straight for the cave. Oh, so the monster was going straight to the cave. Oh. Ignoring her mother, Sandy swam outside. Okay, what do you think this part of the story is? So Sandy ignored her mom and she swam outside, headed for the cave to warn her friends. So all above was an exposition, right? What about this part? Okay, what do you guys think?
Cool.
Yeah,
I
know it's
don't
cool, okay,
understand.
but yeah, what part of the story structure this part is? Ignoring her mother, Sandy swam outside. Okay, let's ask Yasser. What do you think? Is this a part of the exposition or rising action or climax?
Rising action.
Of course, it's a rising action, right? So Sandy disobeyed her mom. She didn't listen to what her mom said, and that will probably cause a bigger problem. So it's a rising action because it's a problem that will cause a bigger problem later, right? Okay. But when she arrived, they were gone. So this is going to be the rising action. Okay. She called out to her friends. She was calling her friends, and swam slowly inside. Then the whole place went pitch black. It was all black. The sea monster was coming into the cave behind her. Oops. Sandy wished she had listened to her mother. She now wishes that she didn't go to the cave, but it was too late. But she didn't have time to worry about that now, right? She swam deeper into the cave with the sea monster close behind. So she's swimming and the sea monster is right behind her, okay? As she swam, the passageways got smaller and smaller. She's going into the cave and he's following her. So what do you
He
think
used
this part,
repetition.
yeah, what do you think this part is? What about this part of the story?
Repetition.
Is it exposition, rising action, climax? Is it falling action or resolution?
Falling action.
Climax.
This is the climax, guys. This is the climax. She was followed by the
Okay.
monster. The monster was about to eat her, right?
I was right.
Yeah. So this is the climax. This is like the first part of the climax. The climax didn't finish here, okay? It will continue on the other side. Finally, she reached a dead end. That's when like she can't escape. This is the worst problem. This is the continuation of the climax, okay? The big problem. She reached a dead end, and the ugly sea monster was right behind her, staring at her with glowing green eyes. At the last second, the part of the cave that the sea monster was in collapsed. Like the sea monster was here and she was there. This part collapsed on him. Like the cave itself fell on.
He died.
Yes, he died basically. Fell on the sea monster. This is at the last second. Very dramatic, right? The part of the cave the sea monster was in collapsed and Sandy was saved. Yay. So,
Malham.
yeah, again, this is the
Why
last
did
part. The
why
last part
didn't
here
it
is basically
collapse
going to be.
on her?
Come again?
Why didn't the cave collapse on her? Or is it just plot?
Okay. When you write your own story, maybe change details. It's your call, right? But in this particular story,
Okay.
the cave collapsed just on the sea monster, right? Anyways, this is
Okay, so
the
plot.
solution, right? What do we call the solution? Do you guys remember?
Resolution.
Not the resolution. No, don't confuse
Conclusion.
the solution with
Conclusion.
resolution.
End.
No, it's the falling action.
Conclusion. Conclusional order.
No, no. The solution to the problem which follows the climax is called falling
Falling
action, okay? Guys, please focus on this. So, the falling action is what follows the climax. It's the solution to the problem. You get it now? After that, we will read about the resolution. The last part is called resolution. Why? Because it's the end of the story. Let's read about it. She came out of the cave where her friends were waiting for her. They cheered, they were clapping for her and cheering for her. The sea monster had been killed by the collapsing cave. You did it, you saved us, her friends shouted. Sandy just smiled as she looked back at the cave. Her mother was right. The cave was dangerous for sea monsters, not for her. So that was like a unexpected part. It was a piece of irony here, right? Funny irony. So the sea or the cave is not,
Nice.
yeah, it's not dangerous for her. Maybe it's dangerous for sea monsters. Cool. So this is the resolution or the last part of the story, which tells us the conclusion or like how the story ends. So again, once more, at the beginning of the fiction fantasy story, you'll have to mention the place and the characters and what do they like to do and like any other character related, like their mom, stuff like that. Then what will happen? Like friends will invite her to visit the cave, the dangerous cave, and then the rising action, it's when she disobeys her mom. Okay, that's a rising action. And then after that, a climax, the hard or the big problem that happens. And after the climax, it's going to be the falling action, the quick solution to the problem, which is usually done by the main character, all right? And at the very end, the resolution. The resolution is like the end of the story. It's your turn to start writing about this. Of course, I will send you this sample of fantasy fiction, but I will want you to write another one just like it, but be smart. I want you to start with the same introduction. For example, you can begin with, so if you write about something that will happen in the sea, right, at the bottom of the ocean, let's actually write about the same story, okay, but like writing another version of it. Write it with your own words. Like try to change the story and the characters and the setting and like try to change what happened. Maybe you will write about, let's say, a sea turtle that was about to be like somebody was fishing, so it was about to be caught, okay, by a hook of a fishing line, but then it got saved by others. I will write to you the question and the characters, like the plan. I will make to you the plan, and you'll have to rewrite a very similar story to this one. But be smart. I want you to copy as many sentences from here as you can. This is good for you because this will make you memorize good phrases and sentences that will be useful for the exams. Okay? So we'll stop right now. This is the end of the class. Guys, you can leave now. The homework will be writing these two.
Which subject?
Yeah, these two writing genres, the nonfiction recount and the fiction fantasy story, okay? Ms. Nurhan is gonna send you the samples and everything.
Where
While
should we
you
write
will
it?
be, yes, with the highlighting and the annotations and stuff. And she will also tell you what to write, but you have to start today.
Where
Maybe write the recount today. Okay, if you have questions, please stay. If
Where
you're
will
done, you
we
can
write
leave now.
it? Where will we write it?
You will write. Actually, Ms. Nurhan will tell you where exactly. Okay, she will tell you all of the details about this.
Can I write a story from my own head?
A fiction or the recount?
Fiction.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
But maybe as it is before you leave,
What?
maybe just write this one first, the one I will tell you to write about, and then you can write your own as a second writing because we'll need to apply writing twice about each genre. So each genre will be answered at least twice. Okay.
All right.
Okay, Dima.
Can I leave?
Yeah, you can now.
Okay.
Bye, Anas.
Bye, Yasir. Maha and Dima. Yeah. Maha, do you
No,
have any
goodbye,
questions?
Mr.
All right.
No,
See ya.
goodbye.
All right. Bye bye.
goodbye أنا كمان بقى
لا استني خدي استني wait. Just a second.